Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, you folks that are on Zoom watching. We appreciate your attendance. Welcome to the December 22nd, 2020 meeting of the Danville-Boyle County Planning and Zoning Commission. This is a special call meeting to take care of some business that need to be taken care of before the end of the year. And we will attempt to do that today as efficiently as possible. As tradition, we're going to begin in prayer. Our God and Father in heaven, we thank Thee for this most beautiful day and all the blessings of it. We thank Thee for the health of the commissioners and our families and all those involved, and we pray You continue to bless us with health. We pray for those that are distributing that vaccine, that could be most efficient and our country could get this virus brought to its knees and get back to some normalcy of life for all of us. We thank Thee for this community we live in, this country we live in, all the freedoms and blessings we enjoy. We thank Thee for our servicemen and women, particularly this time of year. You would be with them, bless them, and with their families. Be with us commissioners today and help us make decisions to be for betterment for all those involved and for betterment of this community. Continue to watch over and care for us in all things. Pray in Christ's name, amen. Item B on the minutes, on the agenda is to approve the minutes of October 28th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Jeff moves we approve. Vince seconds. Question, discussion on the minutes. Motion to approve. Hearing none, all in favor. Vote unanimous. Thank you. Item C, financial report for October. You have that, Steve?
Yeah,
Or-
and as just a note, the November is in your packet too.
Okay.
We didn't meet in November, but there's the November and the October. Not much to report on. I'll just let you all look it over if you have any questions. One thing to note, we have yet to get our county second quarter funding due to a technicality, it sounds like, with the new treasurer. So we put the request in the first of the quarter, which was like October 2nd, and here it is December 22nd. We've yet to get the county check. But I heard it got walked over last week, and we missed maybe the delivery. I think it was me. I was at lunch or something, and so I think they're trying to get it to us. But that throws the numbers off just a tad bit because we haven't got the county's second quarter funding. So it looks a little less on the revenue side. But hopefully we have it here this week or next, and we'll make our third quarter request January 3rd, I guess. So I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have on any item.
We stand okay financially, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, again, if you look kind of at the balance sheet, we're kind of, as we anticipated, with less funding from the city, our carryover was going to drop, and we're right on target revenues, expenses. And as you all know, we are, though, using carryover to make the year balanced due to the funding cut from the city.
Any other questions? Motion to approve.
So moved.
Jeff moves we approve.
One second.
Terry seconds. Question, discussion on the motion to approve the financial report. Hearing none, all in favor. Vote unanimous. Thank you. Item D, construction sureties.
Yeah, we've got several items on here that I want to go through. I'll do them very quick, but these are different. The first one is to accept a letter of credit from Lakewood Acres, and this is for a new cul-de-sac. And I apologize to you guys at the top there, but I put a map up there just so if anyone's not sure where we're at. This is Old Bridge, and this is a farm on the south side, and there's a cul-de-sac being constructed. Did you guys remember we saw the plat a couple months back? Cul-de-sac is being constructed right here, so 4 lots can be developed on this farm. This is to accept the letter of credit in the amount of $21,428 for that cul-de-sac that's being constructed probably today, and it was started last week. So it'll be a cul-de-sac to serve certain 4 lots on that farm. And again, you guys saw the plat back in September. It was revised, and you saw it again in October. This is the letter of credit to get it constructed. And we need a motion to accept that letter of credit.
Questions? Motion?
So moved.
Jim moves we approve. Second. Steve seconds. Question, discussion on the motion to approve. Hearing none, all in favor? Vote unanimous.
All right, these next two are kind of a big deal, I think. These are two that have been sitting on our list, on our cash bond list. The first one is what we call Center Estates Clark's Run Mobile Home Park, and we're releasing a cash bond in the amount of $11,880.24 for sidewalk construction, and our contractor is actually care of the city. Again, the city worked with us to get these projects built, and the city actually hired the contractor, so we'll release the funds back to the city of this bond amounts, and they'll pay their contractor. So the second one, same thing, it's Center Estates Metcalf, released the cash bond amount of $13,500 for drainage, stormwater, inlet pipes, and I'll show you what we've got. So again, this is George Martin, this is Aldi's, this is Highland, and then this is Center Estates Drive. This is Clark's Run Mobile Home Park, and as you all know, these apartments were built. The original bond for this section goes back to 1999. We called that bond in 2003, and there were supposed to be sidewalks built along this run. And then in 2017, a bond was defaulted from Mr. Metcalf in the amount of $13,500 to fix a drainage problem here. There was a drainage basin built here, but the water never really got to it. It was spilling out onto the street and heading towards a low spot here, and there's kind of a ditch. So, and then I'll show you a picture. So this is looking down Center Estates right there at Highland. And again, the city hired the contractor, the city oversaw the construction. We're just simply the conduit to pay for the project. This is looking again down towards the trailer park, new sidewalks coming down the hill, across the drive into this, it says Ashley Way, that's not City Street, that goes into the mobile home park. And again, to go back and show you that sidewalk run is pretty long. It's this entire section. Developer built this sidewalk, but there was some problems with the drainage, and I'll show you that. This is what had to be built. As you can see, there's a deep ditch. This was new. There's an inlet here. The road had to be cut and repaired. The road was failing, actually, but the water was coming down the hill and going across to this low spot. All this pavement was beat up, so there was an inlet put here, and this side there's a massive pipe underneath here, and then a railing had to be put in to, that's a pretty steep drop off there on the back side of that. So again, there's the basin up the hill, and again, the water never really hit that for some reason. It came this way. So all of this had to be reconstructed. And again, there's a better shot of what all had to be built. Interesting enough, that project ended up being about $25,000. We only had $13,500 that we were holding. That was the estimate we got from the city back in 18 when we called the bond, but it ended up costing a whole lot more money. The city's paying the difference on that project. The sidewalk project the prior one that's $11,000, that one ended up being $16,000. So the city's paying the difference of that $15,000 or $16,000 in cost oversights, overruns. Again, these bond estimates come from the engineering department. We just hold the money, release the money, and then oversee the construction. So with these two releases, if you guys approve those, we're able then to issue those checks back to the city. Then they can turn around and pay their contractor. I think they've already paid him, actually. And then those two projects fall off our cash bond list from this point forward. And I guess the Maple Tree project, the other one that's always on the list, I believe the contractor was over there last week.
Still there?
Still there? And hopefully we're gonna get that one done and finished too. So going back to your list, the top are the ones we're holding cash on from prior projects. The bottom are letters of credit for new projects that we'd hold and you guys would see every month. That's a little longer on that, but again, items number 2 and 3 would each need to be approved so we could release those amounts back to the city. And we'll have to write the developer a letter and let him know that we've finished those projects with their bond money care of the city on those projects. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have on those two projects.
You want to make a motion for both of them?
You can.
I make a motion on both 1, 2, and 3.
We approve? That we approve?
Pardon?
That we approve?
That we approve.
Okay.
Thank you.
Approve the release.
Yes.
Yes.
Good release.
I second.
Jeff moves we approve the release of the bond money. Vince seconds. Question, discussion on the motion to approve. Hearing none, all in favor, vote unanimous.
Thank
I
you.
didn't want to put words in your mouth, Jeff.
Sometimes I need it.
Okay, item E, subdivision approvals. Do we need to do these individually, all at once? What?
However you want to do them. There's a couple in here that are new streets. We just want to point out that we'll be
Well,
getting
I was
letters.
going to ask if there's any particular ones we need to discuss individually.
I think you could do the first 5 and do one motion, and then the
Okay.
second group, however you want to do it. Lisa's going to walk you through them.
Okay, Lisa, go ahead, please.
All right, the first one we have, the Rankin Family Limited Partnership has applied for the subdivision of Tract 1A. It's 41-plus acres, taken from the other lands of the Rankin family. The parent tract will retain 317.215 acres. It's all zoned ag. 1A is known as 4111 Harrisburg Road. The plat's ready for approval. Vantage is the surveyor.
Questions on number 1 under E? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Sarah Devine, Vine through Jason Moody, has applied for the subdivision of a plat to create a non-conforming tract number 2, that's 15-plus acres, taken from the other lands of Devine along Highway 68. Tract number 2 will then be conveyed to Michael Acey, an adjacent property owner. The property is zoned ag, it's ready for approval. Vantage is the surveyor.
Questions? Number 3?
Okay. James Cloyd has applied for a subdivision plat to create Tract 1, that is 1.151 acres from the other lands of Cloyd. It's gonna be fronting on Stewart's Lane in Junction City. The address is 2130 Stewart's Lane. The property is zoned ag. Stephen Carroll's a surveyor. It's ready for approval. We still need a signed application and the fee received, however.
We approve that. We need to include that in the motion, that those.
Yeah, those are, when she's making those are all conditions of the approvals.
Right, okay. Just wanted to make that clear. Thank you, Henry. Questions about number 3? Number 4?
Oh, goodness.
Vi Stretcher.
Paul Fistresher, thank you, sir, has applied for a subdivision plat to create Tract C1A from Tract C1, and then combining C1A with Tract C2 to create an overall 8.093 acre tract that's gonna front Highway 150, Perryville Road. The property is zoned ag. It's ready for approval. Wilmot is the surveyor.
Questions?
None?
Number 5?
Okay. Jody Sharp has applied for a subdivision plat creating tract D1, a total of 10.130 acres from his other lands of Hunt Farm. The property is zoned R1A. It's ready for approval to move on to the bond and contract. Vantage is the surveyor.
Let me jump in here real quick.
Sure.
So that plat's behind you guys, but I put in the second one, but I put the map up so you guys can see this is not in your packet. What Mr. Sharp's doing with the first plat is cutting off a piece off the farm and conveying it then to the construction company, plan to convey it to the construction company. So that is right here. This is the 10 acres. So Hunt Farm sections 1, 2, and 3, 4 is here. This would be 5. Then the next plat you're gonna see is this plat. So you saw this one first where he's cutting that off again. In his name, it'll go to Jody Sharp Construction. This is the very next plat that's on the list, where he then shows the lots to be created off that 10-acre piece. That is the one that Lisa just mentioned will need a bond, a contract, a fee. So this is a preliminary approval. These are 2 preliminary approvals. Again, plan is to subdivide this, get it recorded, and then at one point, then that is already preliminary approved, but it can't be recorded till we get all the bond instrument in. That'll be Hunt Farm Section 5, which are 27 more lots. And again, to show you the zoning map, it all then will be, the Hunt Farm Street will be extended this way. Sisters Patron will come this way and extends into Section 4 already. So there'll be a new street through here and here. That bond is about $350,000 to construct those new roadways, curb, gutter, sidewalks. We have the bond estimate, we have the construction plans already. They're being reviewed by the county. The next step again is the contract, our fee, and the actual letter of credit. So today you're approving 2 plats in the preliminary fashion, one to be recorded, one to be held. And that's really the next one on, I jumped ahead, but Lisa, you can jump into any more details on that.
Right,
next one.
we're gonna do a motion on those 5, right?
Or all of them at the end. We can do them at the end.
Any recommendation on that, Henry?
Only recommendation, as you pointed out, is that you adopt all staff conditions when you do make a motion, but doing them all as one is just fine.
Thank you. Number 6, unless there's questions on 5.
No.
Hearing none, number 6.
And of course, number 6, of course, what Steve just covered there is Jody Sharp's subdivision plat to create the 17 individual lots and the street that'll be bonded and contracted. So I guess we can go past that
Yeah,
one. We've already
yeah,
done that one.
yep.
Next, we have Danville Host LLC has applied for a major subdivision plat to create lots number 6, number 7 in section number 3 of Bypass Center. It's gonna be located at 0 South Danville Bypass and along Shannon Way.
Let me show, again, that one's behind you guys too. Interesting note, this is the extension. The zoning line splits this track. This is zoned highway business. This will have to be cleaned up. Creates 2 more lots. And again, I put a zoning map in. I should have done this when the packets went out. I apologize. You can see where the street ends right now on Shannon. This is Cattleman's. This is Buffalo Wings and Rings. And the street ends right here. Azuka is under construction right here, Azuka Restaurant. And the street has been extended since this map. And what you're seeing is another street extension that'll come. This is all kind of preliminary developed. The street will be extended, and a new street will line up right in this area. So again, that's that project. There'll need to be a bond and contract, all the same assurances that the street is built properly. That street construction's right now, the bond estimate's about $152,000. Those plans are already been sent to the city to be reviewed. So the city's got to sign off on the plans before we can move to the actual letter of credit phase. This is just the preliminary approval to create the lots until we get the bond instrument in. And again, it creates 2 more commercial lots east of the Azuka construction that's happening out there right now.
And the new road is Dean Way.
Yeah, that'll be Dean Way that's in the center there.
Questions? Number 8.
BCIF have applied for a major subdivision plat to dedicate the public utilities and right-of-way for the public street called Rick House Road. The plat indicates 2.6 acres of roadway, right-of-way across tract number 10, which fronts Corporate Drive in Danville. The property is zoned IBD. The plat's ready for approval and move on to bond contract. Vantage is the surveyor. Vantage was making some
Yeah, I put it on there.
revision, he got it done?
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, apologize, another street. So these are what we call major subdivisions or subdivision with improvement. This shows a new street coming in to serve the backside of IJW. And as Lisa described, there's the right-of-way. That's the plat that went in your packet, got preliminary approval, tech review. One of the questions we had was the remaining parent tracks, why they didn't show those on the plat and create technically 3 lots. So Kendall resubmitted this plat. It would need to get preliminary approval and final, because all they showed us was the right-of-way, and by doing that, it cut this track off and cut the farm in half, in a sense. So what we've got now Kendall's re-platted this, Kendall Wise with Vantage, to show us this track, the right-of-way, and then the remainder track, and we would record all those at the same time. The right-of-way, again, is a new street, so this shows you where we're heading, cross-country. They'll serve the backside of IJW. They want to build an office back here, and they're ready to go, so that street will have to be constructed in this location. And again, so there's the preliminary plat. That's a costly construction project too. Industrial Foundation would need, again, sign a contract, post a letter of credit. We get a administrative construction fee, and then we can record the plat after the plans are approved. The city's reviewing the plans at this time. So that plat has been revised from the one at your desk simply because we wanted to see the remaining pieces and get those recorded accurately as opposed to just doing them by deed.
Questions? This is zoned what?
That's
Now,
on number
IBD.
And that is what?
8.
Industrial business, what is it? Okay, just wanted to make sure, okay. Any other questions? Okay, number 9.
Next, we have Jerry Finley has applied for the subdivision of a 8.59 acre tract known as Tract 1 at 230 Worldstown Road, Junction City. It's to be separated from other lands of Finley. This plat also serves to abolish the existing Tract A that fronts Highway 300 and combine that tract with an existing non-conforming land of Jerry Finley to total an overall 120 acre tract that fronts Highway 300. The property is zoned ag. AGE is the surveyor, and we're waiting only on surveyor signed copies. It's ready for approval.
Questions? Hearing none, number 10.
Whispering Woods subdivision has applied for the subdivision of a tract of land at 0 Nevius Road, Boyle County, into 3 tracts that will total 8.497 acres overall. We suggested that they include the addition of a notation for the driveway cuts onto Nevius Road to be approved by the county, and the addition of utility signatures for these building tracts. AGE is the surveyor. The property is zoned ag.
I just want to point out on that one, you don't have to turn around at the screen, but if you haven't been on Nevius, that's at the junction of Persimmon Knob and Cream Ridge at the curve as the roads transition from one name to the other. That is a really narrow road. Doesn't even show up on our street layer. It's probably only about 10 foot, maybe barely 10 foot wide. These are just creating 3 large building lots, but there's been some concern about that street and its likelihood to withstand the construction. Dwayne Campbell from the county is concerned about this, but there's really not much more we can do than to put the note on that Lisa alluded to and let the county put any other notes on there. This doesn't require a bond because we're not building a new street. It's an existing county road, but it is extremely narrow. There's just a handful of houses on that little street. And this just may be the first of a few plats that happen on this back here at the end of the street. So all we can do is record the plat and hand it off to the county, and if the street gets damaged during the construction, the only thing we could think about is somehow tie some kind of surety into the building permits. That's something the county would have to iron out. But they were very concerned about any plating on this street or any construction on this really narrow county road that's out there. But they're big lots, and it's only 3.
Questions? Hearing none, need a motion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
If we could have a motion to exclude number 8, and vote on that separately so that I can recuse myself
Sure.
from 8.
Sure. Motion for items 1 through 10 excluding 8 is needed.
So moved.
Jeff moves that we approve,
Second.
and Terry seconds. Question, discussion on the motion to approve. Hearing none, all in favor, vote unanimous. Thank you. Motion for number 8.
And 8 is preliminary and final approval.
Okay.
And then our tech review chairman will need to sign the revised preliminary plat.
Okay. He's recused, yes.
So moved.
Jeff moves again, we approve 8, item 8.
Second.
And Jim seconds. Question, discussion on the motion to approve. All in favor? Vote unanimous. Steve has recused himself. That motion is to include all the recommendations submitted by staff as we covered each item. Right, correct, Henry?
Thank you, yes.
Thank you. Just wanted to make sure that was included in the motion. Public hearings, we've postponed until January. Any comment on that, Steve,
Yeah,
at
let's,
all?
one quick comment, and again, it's why we put them on here. They are all postponed, for obvious reasons, due to the public. If any of y'all have questions on the cases, they have all been filed. They've been filed back in November. All the applicants are kind of ready to get going with these cases, at least get them before you, but unfortunately, we don't know how to have a public meeting that could accommodate possibly such a crowd. And it's number 3 that we're anticipating may generate a fairly large crowd. And again, we won't get into specifics of the public hearing because we're not calling those. But what we do need to discuss is how we may want to have a public meeting in January or February and the format of that meeting. So, you know, if I was to just give you a guess and say we could have 75 people come to us between these 3 hearings. You know, how do we conduct a meeting or a public hearing under the requirements of the statute and have 75 people be in a room under the conditions? Our thoughts were to rent a showroom, but they're not booking any events. We tried to have these hearings this month because these clients are all wanting to get these cases heard. But, you know, our challenge is we're not back to normal meeting situations. This room would only hold about 12 people. If we all spread apart downstairs, we could probably get 30 people. But there's a good chance, if we have these in January, that, again, 75 may be a conservative number, what I've been told. So the third case is going to be fairly controversial. And the first one is the distillery coming back. And as you know, we probably had 12 people, 5 or 10 on that one. Plus the applicants, surveyors, engineers, and you guys, it could easily be 80 people in the room. So we're not sure. We could have a Zoom meeting. That could be problematic for a large crowd. It's possible. We could rent a big room or get in a big space to spread ourselves out. We could continue to have them postponed until we can get back and have our normal meetings. You know, hopefully after the vaccines start to cycle through, maybe we can anticipate we could have a normal meeting again with 50 people in the room. But it's really, wanted to just throw it to you guys on what you think we could do or try to do or continue to postpone them, which is a little disingenuous to the clients. But we're not sure what else to do due to the circumstances.
Is there any way to have the 3 public meetings on the same date, but separate them by 30 minutes so the crowd can come and go? I mean, it'd be a long meeting for us, but I mean, is there a way you could separate the public hearing portion?
We could advertise them as separate special calls. So let's say our next meeting's the 27th of January. We could have a special called meeting at 1 o'clock and one at 5 o'clock, or we could have one on the 27th, one on the 28th, one on the 29th. You guys could come and go that way. We have to advertise all these meetings. We haven't advertised them yet. That's a challenge too. but we could have separate special calls. I don't know how we put time frames on the agenda under one special call and say this one's gonna be at 1, and this one's gonna be at 3:30, and this one will be at.
I've worked with other public,
And one in the afternoon, that way you wouldn't have to worry about overflow.
Yeah, I anticipate that second hearing is pretty much routine as they come. The first one could be a dozen folks. It's the third one, I've been told, and I wasn't here, but, you know, contentious discussions about that part of Bull County, close to the roundabout, and future land use in that area. You guys have had meetings that were pretty long, drawn out, and a good number of folks. So I'm just going on what I've heard, it could be 50 or 75. Maybe it's 15.
The public hearing for 1 and 2, since you think the attendance of those two is not gonna be that large, you know, have that downstairs, and then either do the third one either on a separate month or that same day, but 3 hours later, you know, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Can you have them at like a school or church?
The schools don't wanna, we talked to the school back, after Thanksgiving. We worked all month trying to get these ironed out. We were kicking around trying to have this meeting a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago. They don't wanna rent their rooms because they'd have to be cleaned. The showroom was booking events but had to shut it down due to the governor's latest directive that indoor events can't be over 25 individuals. If that, that's a problem for us too, as we move forward in January. So we have to watch that directive too, when we can have meetings of 25 or more people, assuming we're allowed to do that under the governor's directive, then we could use the showroom, we could rent another room, we could possibly go downstairs. Or we could do a Zoom meeting.
RECC room,
They haven't opened that back up
Haven't.
since the spring. They don't let anyone in their building. We could do a Zoom meeting. There's some problems trying to do a very large Zoom meeting of that nature. Some connectivity issues even for various board members, in fact, and then maybe some citizens.
I struggle with the idea of a Zoom meet.
1 and 2 in January, and
I think,
3 in February, you know, or something like that? Or-
we've talked, there's attorneys involved in number 3. They want to get this before you guys. They feel delays, something their clients are struggling with right now. This has been filed since November. So, yeah, I think we could have 2 special called meetings in January. I just need to advertise for them. And we could have one just for that one hearing. And then we could have our regular business meeting for the other 2. They don't seem to be as time sensitive. So we could have one January 27th and maybe have one the week prior for just that one. Yes, sir.
Maybe we could schedule the one that's, the third one, for a Zoom meeting now, so we know we can do that. So you get that on the books, and then that could be out of the way. And if anything turns up where we can meet somewhere else, well, we can do that. But in the meantime, the meeting's been scheduled, right?
Well, our problem with Zoom is this. Number one, the city doesn't have Zoom as an option. They're using GoToMeetings. The Bluegrass Ad can assist us, but their Zoom license only goes up to 100 total. If we're over 100, we need a different license. And then you need an administrator sort of control mics and questions and connectivity issues. That
They
third
can
one
do
is
that,
just
but-
an unknown to us at this point. And you guys have it?
well, they can handle controlling questions. The ad would facilitate that. That's been my experience.
I just struggle with how we get quality testimony either for or against if we've got 50, 60, 70 people, whatever the number is. I don't know how we do that, and maybe we'd easily do it, but do you know, Henry, or?
Well, so I've been using Zoom for Jessamine County meetings, and the ad has been running it for us. And, you know, it's not the same as being in the same room and being able to look everyone in the eye, but it has not been a problem as far as people being able to be recognized by the ad moderator and chiming in, being able to give their testimony. If anything, it's resulted in kind of more of the public being able to participate than might otherwise be able to do so, because folks who have been out of state have still been able to log in through Zoom and do it. But The way it's usually run is everyone who's on the commission or the board is a panelist, and then members of the public are like silent participants, but then the ad can give them speaking privileges when it's their time. They like raise their hand on Zoom in order to be recognized.
And let me follow. If someone gets out of order or is getting repetitive, taking too much time, or how do we control those things?
There's a mute button. You can.
I mean, do we just cut them off and say sorry, or?
It's,
I think that, I mean, Zoom is fine, but I think if we're really trying to get input from the community, you have to be in the same room with them almost.
I kind of feel that
I
way
agree
too,
with
Steve.
Well, and the challenge we have that maybe Jessamine does, the whole western part of our county has little to no broadband, barely any cell service. So there's likely there's gonna be clients that are gonna say, look, I couldn't call in even. I couldn't download the app, I couldn't watch it on YouTube. You know, our county's not as good a shape when it comes to streaming services, especially in the western part. I'd be concerned that somebody would say, look, I couldn't get on the meeting. Or they're just not comfortable using Zoom. I think we could pull it off. I think technically, I think we could do it with even 100. I saw the ad, gave me a demo. I went up there and they showed how they could do that. And then tie it into the city's YouTube channel. And then the city manager said if we had to, the city could get the Zoom license we need and they could do it for us, just city IT could do it for us. So I think we could do a large Zoom meeting. I'm comfortable in that format. One option for you all is we could bring you all into one room, and we'd be on one Zoom camera, and other places have done that, so that way you guys, if you had any challenges getting on the meeting or weren't comfortable performing under that format, you guys could all be in one space. And then the public would just be calling in or on the Zoom link.
They also have hotspots for people who don't have, access.
That can
Like they
come-
do for the schools, I know they're doing it in Russell County and in a lot of real rural counties. And so, I mean, I've done a lot of these because I don't know how to put them together because I'm usually the guest. So I just get on there and there's 100 people or more sometimes that are on these things. And, it's not like in person, but the information is there. And it's like, for me, it's like watching TV. I really don't like doing them. But they're effective, especially if we have a backup issue in terms of people who need to move along in their projects. It's inconvenient for us, but it might be really convenient for that one. We'd do the best we can, I'd say, on that, but that's up to everybody. I like seeing everybody in person. I don't like doing it.
So,
But,
how do I, as a chair, run that meeting, Henry? What I do, where would I physically be, and
You could be right there, or you could be at your house.
I would not be at the house. Forget
Okay,
that.
you probably wouldn't have the service just like me.
We could have a
So you
moderator
you could-
here.
You could be here. The Bluegrass ad, that gentleman
If you-
stays in his office, and I was in there, and he can see all, let's say, 110 names. But there has to be communication between the chairman and possibly me and him, where you could say, go ahead and recognize so-and-so,
Right.
and then you tell that administrator to open up that mic.
Sure.
But you and the administrator would have to sort of be tied together somehow. That's why I think it'd be better if the city was
Same
doing it, that we could do it from this room.
Yeah, Jeff?
If we were to go down that road, would it be more simplistic if we met as we are meeting now?
Right.
And we could even have the applicants in the room. And then we just Zoom the
Everyone
auxiliary
else.
people,
the public.
It's been done that way. It's
Yeah.
been done that way.
that's good.
That way we can control that part too.
Yeah.
I'd just be a little concerned, being part of pretty controversial hearings in the past and challenges. We don't open up the door to any kind of goofy technical challenge, this one could be appealed. This is a classic one. It could go beyond this forum. And we don't want to be the conduit for, well, I couldn't be at the meeting, or I couldn't get in, or. And so we want to have a fair meeting with as many bodies that want to show up. If it's 50 or 250, we got to be able to accommodate that well into our future if we have big hearings. So if we thought it's a big crowd, if we had a meeting today and there was more people that could get in the room, we would table the meeting and we'd go get Admiral Stadium if we had to, and figure out what we have to do to have that
I've been to
meeting.
meetings in the past, in the old court,
City Hall, or there's people out in the hallway,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
people standing out. I mean, you can only accommodate so many people.
Right,
We can't get a stadium.
yeah.
So, I mean, there's a limit to what we can do
Yeah.
by the real estate that we have available to us. I mean, that's,
I agree. I've been in hearings where they're standing on the wall and out in the hallways and downstairs in the hallway. But at some point, if we think they all wanted to testify, we do our best to accommodate everyone to at least get in and get to the mic. If they wanted to testify, we might have a sign-up sheet for people that wanted to take questions, and if they were out there, we'd figure out a way to get them in. I'm good with whatever. I just know these clients filed these cases, paid their fees, and they're ready to go. And there's opposition mounting fairly large on one that's organizing at the same time. So they'd like to get this hearing before you guys and lay it all out there, and you all figure out what you're gonna do on
I
this
think-
case.
I think one thing you can do, if we are gonna do that, and I agree with Jeff, is that you can have a session for the people that are really interested, they wanna have access. They, you know, we could have a Zoom session, schedule a time that these 5 or 6 or 7 people at most would have an educational thing on how to run Zoom for the people that don't, and if you do that, I think you're legally, I would guess, that's why I'm asking Henry, if you present them with a way to be able to be part of the meeting, and if they screw up, I mean, you know, you can't be responsible for what they're doing. I mean, I think they have to be responsible for making sure they have access, and we give them access, and we educate them in access. And I think that's all we're responsible for, but Henry could give us the, you know, I've seen some things like where as long as you provide a way,
Other counties that I think Clark County develops like boilerplate Zoom instructions that they have on their website so that folks can,
Do you guys require the registration, or is it just an open link to the public?
open link.
So I've been checking with some of my counterparts around the state, and so you either just have a link where everyone goes to the Zoom, downloads the app, and you're in the meeting. Others have a registration link. That's for the people that are gonna speak. So that's been some of the other ones, you know, if we, as opposed to just 100 people being on there, we're trying to deal with the public and everyone wants to talk. Others, you have to register to be a speaker. And then, in this case, Bluegrass Ad, if we use them, would know, hey, just these 15 people are gonna talk. And then we're managing just those 15 speakers. The challenge, the other planning commission said, some of the people that just get on then decide they do then wanna talk. And they're only on as just the public viewing component, not the actual live interactive part.
Right.
Well, another thought, just
The problem,
beating the bushes.
The
Is it
problem we've got-
physically possible to have the clients in and not have a sign-up list for everybody that wants to speak and have them come in one at a time and speak? I mean, it doesn't
They don't get to
mean
hear.
the whole group has to hear what one person has to say, does it?
that's,
Well, with something like this, it's not a zone map amendment, this is just the flumes stage, but there has to be a right of cross-examination for,
Right?
and so if it's just one person in here at a time, they don't get to hear the one person's testimony in order to be able to question them on that testimony.
Who doesn't get to hear it?
so if I'm here in opposition and the applicant gets up and speaks and I'm out there, then I wanna speak, I almost need to hear what they're saying, potentially pose my question from.
The applicant you're talking about?
Yeah, I gotta hear
Applicant
all the
has-
testimony if I then wanna get up at the end and say, here's what I think, or this is my question. They gotta hear that other testimony to be on the same footing.
The applicant definitely has that right. It's not as clear in case law that's been out whether opposition to the application also has the right to cross-examine, but especially if there's gonna be a lawyer on the other side, I'd recommend that lawyer also have the chance to hear everything.
Yeah, but I was just talking about John Q. Public wants to come in and testify for or against.
Right.
Does that person have to hear the presentations made?
I think they do.
Okay,
think they
I'm
do.
just curious about that.
Be fair. So our challenge is we gotta advertise to January 27th, 2 weeks prior to be the 13th. We have to get ad in the paper by the 13th of January. So we gotta know something by then. We'll keep checking back the showroom. They said we could get 200 people in there easily and spread them apart. and we could live stream remote. The city said they can live stream from anywhere, as long as we have Wi-Fi. That seems to be the best option if we're gonna have all the public there. Or we just keep postponing the meetings till February, maybe March, and just tell the applicants until we can get back to. I kinda like the idea of 2 special calls, and we could
I do
schedule
too.
them for downstairs, cause I know we can get 30 people. And again, if we have more than that, we'll just have to table that hearing and say, guys, let's come back and come
Well, I
up with
think for
Plan
the
C.
first 2, we could do that in one meeting, you know, based on what we've heard in the past with regard to pro and con. And then for the third one, I assume it'd be, yeah, like you said, Steve.
I
quite a
don't
bit
know.
of-
You're the one that scared me. Said there could be 50 or 75.
Yeah,
I'm nervous.
I'm
I
pretty
don't know. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure there'll be several for that. I
Okay.
don't know how many either. Maybe 20, maybe 250. As you said, who knows?
250.
I'm really uninformed here, I don't know what's these are about.
Can I give them they're filed, can I tell them
Somebody
generally what the
knows,
case is? Okay, so the first case is LMD Holdings, is the distillery on 52 that you guys heard last year, then was tabled and withdrawn. They've refiled their zone change for a lot smaller acreage, more condensed zone change, just to basically do the distillery operations and they filed conditions. So that's one we've already heard, it's back. Second one's a small zone change on the bypass in Ghost Pike, just down from the skating rink, that end track. It's kind of landlocked, it's split zone, they want to get it zoned one district to clean up the zoning for marketing purposes. The third one is a flume amendment as a first step to a zone change for a retail development that's within arm's length of the roundabout up there on 2168. Its address is 0 Shakertown Road, but it's literally right across the street from Danville Christian Academy for a small retail box, approximately about 8,000 square foot. But this is the flume amendment as a first step to filing the zone change at a later date. And it's anticipated it would be controversial simply because zone changes on the north side of town historically have been that way. Flume amendments, flume discussion have been fairly highly contested in the past
They have.
on that 2168 corridor,
They have.
north side of Danville. And this is actually Shakertown Road. It's the last little leg there before the roundabout.
This would be between the radio station and the roundabout.
Correct.
physically.
Just to the north.
Yeah.
Correct. So, from what I heard in the past, we'd get some folks here, and there's already been opposition, calling, questioning, a few Facebook issues already out there, just since it's been filed.
Why don't we have the meeting outside? It might dissipate a lot of hot air discussion.
Jim, do you see that next meeting, January 27th?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Keep everyone short to the point. Just have-
Well, it certainly sounds like we should try to have a January 22nd meeting, try to do it and include the first and second one. We can accommodate that downstairs. And then we have to treat the third one as a special meeting probably,
Just all by itself and,
all by itself,
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
either out at the showroom or wherever.
And the showroom may be available in
Separate it.
January.
I think it needs to be, it's important to, this is not our decision to do this. This is governors has put these parameters on us. So
Correct.
it's
Exactly.
not like we're just willy-nilly saying we just don't feel like we can do
Right.
it. We've got limitations that we have to work.
I think where we're kind of getting backed into a corner, honestly, is the applicants are all kind of going, why not do a Zoom meeting? You all have that option, and there's been some reluctance, I guess, on ours. You know, the chairman and I have talked about some logistic issues there, and so that's where I think they're going. But I kind of agree, if we're gonna have a meeting, we'd like to do it in the format that suits this body and you are comfortable with. And if that means we have to postpone it or have a special call or book a bigger room, then that'd be our plan.
Have you approached the Christian Academy about having the meeting there? Because I imagine there's gonna be a lot of people that are involved with that.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of calls from folks from.
Well, I could talk to somebody.
No, they do have a new building back there. I
Right.
thought about that.
It's big,
Yeah.
big.
But the showroom seems, and it's only $50 an hour, so we could do that. They just can't have a meeting. But they're anticipating after Christmas this should free up is what I'm calling them every week and checking with them. So, I appreciate y'all having the discussion on that. Henry and I will talk and we'll get back with the chairman and I
Okay.
think that'll be the plan. Only other item under new business is the 2021 meeting schedule was at the very back of your packet. Stays on the same format, filing deadlines first Wednesday, tech reviews second Wednesday, planning commission's fourth Wednesday. And those are all the dates for 2021. You all need to approve that if you're okay with that.
We need a motion,
Question, discussion on the meeting schedules being presented.
have a motion for approval.
Here none, we have a motion to approve by Jeff,
Second.
second by Rita. Question, discussion on the motion to approve the meeting schedule. Hearing none, all in favor, vote unanimous. Any other good for the order? Hearing none, a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it.
Vince makes it,
Second.
Jeff seconds, all in favor. Thank you, we are adjourned.